All right, nerds, welcome once again to That Just Happened. This is the review show for lazy people, honestly. And this week's show, we're talking about the Invincible White Lotus. I gotta find a way to get better at these. That is right. This week on That Just Happened, we're talking about the White Lotus. We're also talking about, for a moment, we'll talk about Invincible. But also, there's a new movie, not new as in like newly released, but a new movie that I just found that we're going to talk about because, it's really bad. So, without any further ado, we're going to jump into White Lotus first. White Lotus Season 3 is actually, I think, the new episodes go up on Sunday, so we're 3 episodes deep. By the time you see this, we should probably be 4 episodes deep, but as I'm filming this, only 3 have been released. I have watched all 3, and I must say, this one's starting out a little bit slow, but not in any kind of bad way. Like building the pressure, building the tension, building your suspicions as to what exactly is going to be the resolution to the conflict that they established early in the first episode. Because they kind of do the thing where you jump into the action mid-climax for the 5 minutes or so at the beginning of the first episode, and then you go 3 weeks previously and see what all of the crazy that is that led into said climax. So I really appreciate the addition of Walton Goggins. I think Walton Goggins is having a really great moment right now as far as his acting jobs are concerned and just general acceptance in Hollywood. I think a big portion of that was his comedy work with, oh good lord, what's his name? Righteous Gemstones dude. Brain farting his name, I apologize. But that kind of got him there, and then Fallout really put him in the spotlight, and this is showing the range, because Fallout is a great example of his ability as an actor, and so is all of the stuff that Danny McBride, there we go. All the stuff he did with Danny McBride is a great example of his comedic chops. This is a really cool example of his dramatic chops, and I really dig the addition of Goggins in this season. I think that his character is going to be key to what the hell that climax situation is that we got, like I said, at the beginning of episode 1. As far as the other characters, you have the Southern family. I think there's a lot of weirdness going on with those kids. I think this season is going to be even more envelope pushing than we've gotten previously. There's been a lot of gay undertones in the previous seasons, obviously. Undertones is probably even much more subtle. There's a lot of gay stuff in the first 2 seasons, which it serves the story that they're telling, so it is what it is. I'm not complaining about gay things in movies. It's just, if you're sensitive to such things, you should probably know. This season, I think they're going more taboo. There isn't any outwardly, stereotypically gay characters like you got in the first 2. There's potentially going to be incest situations in this one. I don't know, but that is the definite vibe I'm getting. And as of episode 3, it's not even the same. The vibe's still there, but it's shifted a little bit. It's not the kid, one of the boy kids and his sister. I think it might be the 2 boy kids might have oh man, I think we're going to get into some really dark territory as far as storytelling is concerned, and I don't know if they're going to be able to execute quite as well as the first 2. The thing about this show, and the thing that you should know if you haven't watched it previously, is it takes the dark kind of desire, takes dark recesses of the human, the Western brain, and dissects them. And by the end of the first season, you really feel like those characters grew and became better people. By the end of the second season, that's not exactly the case, but that's not to say that they didn't change as characters throughout the course of just definitely not better people for it in the end. I think this season might be the first season. So far, it's starting out all right. Starting out with that same kind of undertone of of despicable humans doing despicable things and then learning from them potentially. But I think this might be the first season that by the time we get to the end of it has missed its mark. Because if that's all the territory that you feel like is all that's left, I feel like you kind of jumped the shark a little bit in a very opposite kind of meaning for the actual jumping the shark meaning. Yeah, I just don't think that if what they seem to be setting up, if that pays off, it's going to be an enjoyable season. So I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm sitting with it. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Moving on to our next piece. It's Invincible. Episode 5 now. Episode 6 will be out tomorrow as I'm filming this. So yeah, it's a couple of days ago as you're watching, I'm sure. Episode 5, more of the same. We didn't get any Omni-Man this time, not even in the post-credit stinger. So, because there is a post-credit stinger in every episode, if you're letting your Amazon Prime kick you out before it gets there, you're doing yourself a disservice, because there's some really funny stuff, there's some really poignant stuff as far as the story is concerned. Always happens in that post-credit stinger. The post-credit stinger in this one is relevant to the story that happens in this episode, but is not relevant to the situation that Omni-Man is in. So a little bit disappointing, a little bit even more disappointing than anticipated, because I anticipated they were going to lean into the issues that I exampled in the last episode, that I explained in the last episode, and they did, but then also we didn't get any Omni-Man. So it was just like, I gotta sit through another episode of this nonsense before we get to hopefully some sort of resolution and we can get past this bad writing. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with Invincible. Before we go any further, I would just like to take a moment and thank channel partner Dubby. These guys partner with the channel. You get a 10% discount if you use code GenerallyNerdy or follow the link in the description. I think you still got to use the code when you check out, but either way, code GenerallyNerdy when you check out, get you 10% off. Dubby is energy drinks. I mean, like, that's just kind of the quick sell, right? 10% off your energy drinks. What more do you need? Go check out w.gg and get your 10% off today. If you want a more detailed sales pitch, you're gonna have to come back maybe to another episode, because right now I'm just drinking my Dubby. So there. Then we have Harley Quinn. I don't know why I didn't mention this in the intro. Harley Quinn, season 5, episodes 1 through 5. As I'm filming this, episode 6 is out. I just have yet to watch it. So this is the season where Harley and Ivy have moved to Metropolis for no real narrative reason, I feel like. It is a silly cartoon show. It is comic books even. So, I mean, you could have a lot of things happen between seasons that would have gotten Gotham to the point where they could have stayed, but instead Gotham got worse since we saw it last. They got invited to Metropolis, and then they decide they want to live in Metropolis after seeing how like it makes for a kind of funny gag the one time that they make the first time they make the joke, but then they kind of beat that dead horse, and I feel like they're losing some of what made season 1. Well, let's walk that back a little bit. Season 3 definitely was a prime example of them not fully understanding what happened in season 1 and why it was as successful as it was. But now that we're in season 5, season 4 seemed to be like, all right, they kind of get it. Season 5 is like, maybe they don't. Maybe they don't fully grasp what it was that made season 1 good. Because there's still some elements of it there. There's still some funny stuff. It's almost to the point where I can believe Harley Quinn is a good enough character to carry a narrative all on her own, because I still don't buy her as a leading lady as a character, just because she's far too dependent, and that's kind of part of her character. She's dependent on stronger characters in order to give her character meaning and motivation. It's just kind of the way her character is. If that stronger character is Ivy, if that stronger character is Joker, if that stronger character is Batman, whatever, it doesn't necessarily matter who the stronger character is, but there has to be a stronger character in order for her to fully work. This animated show, season 1, kind of got me thinking maybe that's not the case. Season 2, a little bit more so. Season 3, shot that in the dick. And then it's kind of, season 4 was a little bit of an up. Season 5 is kind of plateauing from season 4. There's a couple of really weird narrative decisions, like why we had to go to Metropolis. The reason I feel like that's a weird narrative decision, if it was just Ivy and Harley that went to Metropolis and then different things started happening, that would be one thing. But we basically took the entire cast from Gotham to Metropolis. So not much is different other than the scenery. Like, these storytelling elements are all basically the same. So it didn't make any sense. Excuse me. So yeah, I have said a number of times, and I still to a certain degree feel like this is accurate, but I have said that this show scratches the itch that was left by the Venture Brothers. Venture Brothers gave us syphilis, and now Harley Quinn is the ointment that we maybe that's appropriate considering both of those cartoons. But I think now that we're into the 5th season and we don't have any more course correction than we got in season 4, at least not yet, it's really starting, the medication's not working super well, because the itch just comes back and comes back and comes back, and then you just gotta go watch Venture Brothers and then realize that show is far superior in a storytelling sense, in the comedy sense even. Like, it doesn't overly rely on childish humor. The only reason that the Venture Brothers series did not work is because Jackson Publick and Doc Hammer took way too damn long and were way too particular about the way in which their art was made, which is commendable as an artist. Like, I think that's great that they were able to do that for as long as they did. But then in the end, it's the very thing that dealt their demise, because if they were able to produce at a higher rate, like any other animated series in the history of ever, they would probably still be on the air. I don't know, maybe by now they would have gotten to season 10 or 12 or something along those lines, and then all right, we need to bring the narrative to a close. Like, that would have been a much more logical, but they were kind of forced into that position because it takes them 2 years, and the modern attention span just does not retain information that long, as we learned with Invincible, which, I mean, was since the demise of Venture Brothers. But still, Venture Brothers, if there had been a release schedule more appropriate to modern attention spans, we would still be getting Venture Brothers, and then we wouldn't need Harley Quinn to scratch the itch. As it stands right now, Harley Quinn really is not scratching that itch much. So it started out, season 1 definitely hit that spot real good. Season 2 also. Season 3, the itch is here and we're scratching up here. Like, it just completely missed the mark. Season 4, we're about here. Season 5, same thing. So I don't know. I don't know if I can mix metaphors anymore for you, but that's where that stands.
Subscribe. That is all.
And then our final piece for this episode of That Just Happened, there is a horror movie that features, I'm gonna forget the actor's name, Will Patton. I remembered. Will Patton, I think that's right. Who was the white coach from Remember the Titans. He's been in a number of other things. He's also in Outer Range with Thanos. Names suck. I don't retain that information for whatever reason. Josh Brolin, there it is. Oh, ADHD. Anyway, so it's called The Devil Below. Will Patton is in a horror movie that came out, I believe, was a couple years ago, like 2023 maybe. That is on Amazon Prime. If you have Prime, you can watch this for free. I'm going to warn you, don't, unless you want to watch the worst horror movie you've probably ever seen. And it's not one of those, it's so bad it's good. This is just mind-numbingly bad. It's it's not one of those that's like shot on a handy cam so it looks like somebody did it in their basement kind of things. No, this had some sort of budget. I don't think it got a theatrical release. I would be very, very surprised if it got a theatrical release. But the reason we even pulled this damn thing up is A, because Will Patton is a face we recognize. Like, let's put this on. It's a horror movie. Horror movies usually are good. If not so bad they're good, then good. But we put this one on. Amazon Prime said it had 4 out of 5 star rating. About a third of the way into this movie, we looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that these are like definitive. We don't usually put a whole lot of stock into the metadata reviews necessarily. Like, if it's something we want to watch, we usually just watch it anyway. But on Rotten Tomatoes, it had a 17%. Like, and I can fully understand that 17%. There is couple of things narratively about this movie that are like, all right, that was a cool idea, something I haven't necessarily seen before. The whole premise is actually an interesting idea. It's a play off of Silent Hill, which was another thing that really got us into like, hey, that sounds interesting. I wonder what this interpretation of that. And Silent Hill, inspired by real life events, because coal mines have been set on fire, and there is an active coal mine still burning in Middle America. I don't remember all of the details exactly, but that is a thing that happens. And that idea was taken by the people who created Silent Hill over in Japan, because they're all over the world, these coal mines that are burning. There's a handful of them all over the world. Not that like this is some sort of epidemic or anything, but that was the genesis of the idea for Silent Hill. So this starts in a similar place, has an interesting premise. Instead of it being like an alternate dimension, it is legitimately like this city, or this town rather, got sunk into this coal mine that has been set on fire and has been burning since, and is being covered up by what you assume is some sort of government agency at the beginning of the movie, right? So that's kind of your premise. It's a little bit less interesting than I think I made it sound, but it's interesting enough to get you hooked into, going. Character dynamics are very stereotypical at the front of the movie. You know exactly who's going to die first. Exactly who's going to die first about 10 minutes into this movie. The first death doesn't actually happen until about 30-45 minutes into the movie. So like there's a good amount of time between we're telegraphing that this person's going to die and then they actually die, and then everyone follows in very rapid succession, almost to the point of like we forgot we had to show them dying on screen, so we're gonna just rush the death kind of situations. Oh man, so it's called The Devil Below. I'm gonna say if you really want to see how to not make a horror movie, that would be the only reason to watch this. Otherwise, stay very far away. We're gonna social distance this one at about 12 feet because that was garbage. And that, nerds, is what happened this week. As far as happening soon, nothing planned on the docket just yet. As I said last week, there are a couple of concerts out on the horizon, but those are out on the horizon by a couple of months at this point, so no real reason to bring those up. No plans for anything coming out in theaters in the near future or anything like that. Just going to be keeping up on the shows, watching the new shows that are going to be launching. I can't think of what March is going to be bringing us, but bringing us something. So keeping tabs on that, and then maybe picking up an older movie or two and talking about that here next week. So what is on the docket for you, nerds? What are you planning on getting into this week? Are you going to be listening to some new music? Because that new Killswitch Engage record came out and it's fire. It is legitimately like being thrown into a fire. It is that kind of crazy. But yeah, there's some new music that's definitely worth a listen. We talked about that music section in the main show, and I really just keeping tabs on the shows is the only thing I can think of. So if you have something else, please let's talk about that, because I'm very interested in new art, new media, new consumables. Let's get into it. So that being said, I appreciate you for sticking around, for joining me in these review shows. We will see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here, and that just happened.